This task is a great way to force students to think about what parallel really means, because as you'll see, practically parallel is actually the same as parallel. Remember, the goal is to have the students figure this out for themselves. So first, you need students to sort of understand what it means to check whether these things are the same or if one implies the other. And certainly, practically parallel is going to imply parallel in the sense that two lines don't intersect. Because if I have a line here and I have another line that's practically parallel up here, that is always the same distance up, well, obviously they don't intersect. Or practically parallel also implies parallel in the sense of having the same slope. Because if I have a line here and I have a practically parallel line up here, and I go across a certain amount here, then I'm going to go up m times that certain amount here. But that means that if I went across on this one here, I'd have to go up m times that much there. And so you see that all of a sudden practically parallel implies parallel. Now many students at this stage might say, well, that means they're the same. But it's good to remind them here that just because an implication goes one way doesn't necessarily mean it goes another way. As we discovered in the parody and pigeons exploration, being a human certainly means I've got a brain. But just because I have a brain doesn't mean I have to be a human. Could be a bird brain. That never ceases to amuse me. But the idea is very important here. So just because practically parallel means that they are parallel in the sense of having the same slope, or they are parallel in the sense of not ever intersecting, doesn't necessarily mean that just because two lines never intersect means that they're going to have the same, means that they're practically parallel, or that two lines having the same slope means that they're practically parallel. Now that second implication is easy to see. You can easily see that if this line has the same slope as this line, then if I go across this far on this line, then I go up that far. That means that if I go across that far on that line, I go up the same amount. And so they have the same slope. So practically parallel. So parallel in terms of having the same slope definitely means practically parallel. Anyway, encourage your students to explore these different implications and see if they can get from one to the next and so on and so forth. As I say, in the end, practically parallel is the same as parallel, but it's more important here to explore and see why that's true than to just know it, because nobody ever uses practically parallel in the real world. All right, let's have a look at the next one.